Hi, I'm Michael Dresser. In conversations about consent, there's often a lot of emphasis placed on yes and no, and of course, those are very important words. But as I'm sure you've experienced, life isn't always black and white, and actually, most of the time, how we feel about something is probably more like a shade of grey somewhere on a spectrum between black and white. So, I want to talk here about the idea of a willingness scale. So you need to access your willingness when somebody wants something from you. So that might be something that they want you to do for them. So will you pick me up from the airport? Or will you massage my shoulders? Or it might be something that they want to do that involves having access to you. So may I rant to you about my boss for 5 minutes? Or may I run my fingers through your hair? And so I imagine as you heard me list out those examples of different things that I might want, that you probably felt some kind of internal reaction which was slightly different for each one. And if you did, it means you're already starting to tap into your willingness scale. So when somebody makes a request of you, there's a whole range of ways that you might feel about that, which are much more nuanced than just simply a yes or a no. So at one end of the scale, you might be oh yeah, I'm totally up for helping you with that because it's something that you're really enthusiastic about too. Or it might be something that you wouldn't necessarily pick for yourself, but you've got no objection to. So you'd say something like, sure, I can help you with that. Or you might have some limits around your involvement. So you might say, yes, I'm willing, but only for the next 10 minutes. Or you might be right on the edge of your willingness, and so your response might be more like, well, okay, but only because it's you and only because I love you. Sometimes you might feel a maybe. So that could mean that you need more information before you can decide. So you might say, well, I'm not sure, tell me more about what's involved. Or it could mean that you need more time to make your decision. So I'm not sure, let me think about it over the weekend. And even when you start to enter the range where you're not willing, there can still be a sliding scale. So it might be that you're not totally unwilling completely. So you might say, well, I'm a no to that, but is there something else that I can help you with? And sometimes it's not a permanent no. So you might say, well, I'm not up for that right now, but ask me again tomorrow. And then right through, of course, to the far end of the scale where it's like, no way, not in a million years, never going to happen. And of course, it's also really important to remember that sometimes, even if we feel a no, we don't always have the choice to say it. So you can see in those examples that there's quite a range of responses that you might feel on this scale of willingness. And I found the willingness scale really helpful when it comes to responding to people's requests of me. And the reason for this is because when I get clear for myself about where I am on my willingness scale, it helps me to be a lot clearer about what my limits actually are, if I have some, and how to communicate that when I'm responding to the other person. So if I need to have a dialogue with them about any of it, I can feel much more secure about communicating what works for me and what doesn't work for me. As a side note, the other thing that I think is really worth paying attention to here is that zone of maybe. So often when we feel a maybe, we also feel pressure, sometimes from the other person, but also from inside ourselves, to turn that maybe into a yes. And generally when we feel a maybe, it's for one of two reasons. Either because we need more information or we need more time, as I talked about before. Or it could be because there's actually a no in there that's waiting to be heard and trying to be heard. So a practice that I've encouraged in both my clients and in myself actually is the practice of turning a maybe into a no rather than turning a maybe into a yes. And for myself, what I've found that this does is to give a bit of breathing space to consider how I really feel about it. And when I give myself that space, what I usually find is that I have a much clearer response inside myself one way or the other. And of course, even if I have said no, I can always come back and change my mind to a yes later on. So the next time somebody wants something from you, try tapping into your willingness scale and playing with it. See what you find there. And also check out my website for lots more resources about how you can skill yourself up when it comes to healthy relating in this way. And like and subscribe my videos on here for regular tips and resources like this one.